Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to All for United. This is our Sunday podcast. This is Devil's Advocate, and today, lads, I have a fantastic panel joining me here today on this, I suppose, doomy, gloomy Sunday. But look, who cares? We're all here to chat all things Manchester United. And so to the right of me, joined as always by Mr. Mark Biggs, also returned to the channel here today, also joined by Benny, also joined by Mr. Fred Woodward, Andrew Wall, and Stu Woolley. So a very stacked panel here we have this evening. We're here today to talk all things Manchester United. Most notably, we are going to talk about the Anthony Martial and Martial-Rangnick situation. So please, guys, drop into the comments. Let us know what you think about the situation. As always, do smash a like in the video, hit that subscribe button, and do continue to show the support to this great channel that we do have here. But guys, obviously, look, yesterday we had a 2-2 draw against Aston Villa, and look, by all accounts, a tale of two halves, really. Played well for some parts of the game, and then obviously, look, once we conceded that first goal, we folded, and Philip Coutinho came back to haunt us again. After the game, Ralph Rangnick then does come out and says then that Anthony Martial refused to basically be in the matchday squad, and consequently, wasn't there. And then this morning, then Anthony Martial then proceeded to say through social media that he never refused to be in the squad and he's fully fit to play, and he's shown commitment to play for Manchester United. So obviously there's two sides to this coin. There's been different opinions across social media. There's been different opinions, obviously, through the broadcasters and stuff like that across the world. So look, obviously at Manchester United, everything is massive news. Mark, I'm just going to come to you first on this, because essentially, look, we've been in these last, I suppose, 10 days, 2 weeks. There's been numerous reports, obviously, of player unrest within the dressing room. There's been players wanting to leave, apparently up to 13 to 17 players wanting to leave. And then, obviously, them reports have been refuted. Now, Ralph Rangnick openly comes out and says that Martial doesn't want to play for the football club. And then we have a lot of rumours, obviously, coming out that there's been talks of a loan deal, a permanent deal, and stuff like that. Then Martial comes out and denies it. Where do you sit in this situation? Like, who do you believe? Because do you think Martial's trying to save face? Because obviously it could shed him in a bad light that he's refusing to play, similar to what a Carlos Tevez situation had at Manchester City a couple of years ago? Or do you maybe think, Ralph Rangnick is telling the truth and maybe Martial just doesn't want to play for Manchester United anymore?
I think there's probably some truths in both of the comments, really. I think my frustration is that United seem to be in such disarray at the moment that everything is going to be looked upon very negatively. Now, what I think's happened is Martial has said he doesn't want to be part of the squad. He wants to leave. Obviously, Rangnick, in his right mind, will leave him out of the squad, and that's absolutely fine. And I think that because it's been turned into, I know obviously Rangnick said that he didn't want to be part of the squad, but that's okay. Do you know what I mean? He had to make a decision. He's made his points clear. So Ralph has got to act upon that. And I don't blame him for doing that. And I think it is just Martial. And again, I don't blame him for doing this. You don't want to look negative in the limelight. So you're going to try and save face. You're going to try and say your piece and you're going to defend yourself. United have bigger problems at the moment. And it has escalated so much over the past couple of weeks, and it's an absolute circus at the moment, and it's very, very difficult. If Ralph has lied, then that could be a problem. That could create a problem for United, and it might well mean that he won't continue. I think we're probably all very clear on the fact that he's not going to see out more than 6 months. Okay. If Martial is lying, then maybe it kind of depicts that the players might have lost a little bit of trust in the manager. I know it's just one person at the moment, but there is a little bit of an issue in the background and it needs to be nipped in the bud. This is the moment for Darren Fletcher to get involved. He's the technical director. He's got a rapport with the players. He's a strong and assertive man, and he has to get involved and pick up the pieces and patch things over. We've got huge problems across the club. Okay, we've had bad recruitment over the years, as we all know. That's not the players' fault. That's not the players coming in fault. We haven't looked at the right men. It's the club's fault. You can't blame Ralph at the moment, okay? He's had a very, very difficult few months. He's come in, Carrington's been closed. He hasn't been given a nice, solid, really few weeks of training with no issues behind the scenes. And it must be an impossible job. But that's not his fault either. We know it's a problem higher up. And I feel like this season has sucked the life out of me. And it's very, very difficult to find that same energy and enjoy what I'm seeing. I want nothing more than for Ralph to turn it around and get the players ticking. But the players have to do that as well. It's just a complete mess at the moment. It's really sad to see. And this is not the Manchester United I know.
Definitely not. And I think any Manchester United dressing room, I think we can all attest to and we can all agree to is the one thing that's always abundant in a Manchester United dressing room, especially in years past, let's say in the Sir Alex Ferguson era, is that the dressing room would always be united. And if there was anyone who was causing unrest, the nip would be in the bud and it'd be done privately. I think Keane, Giggs, Neville, they've done very well to manage dressing rooms in years past. Right now, like in this new generation, I don't know what's happening, because when you see these leaks come out, there must be dressing room unrest, because that can't happen. And then when Ralph Rangnick is having to come out and say then that this player, isn't happy and wants to leave and he's refusing to play, there must be like a breakdown of communication somewhere. If Martial is then coming out to say, I want to stay, I want to fight for my place, I'm committed to the football club whilst I'm under contract. So it's one of these things where I don't know who to believe in this situation. Now, normally I would back my manager in this situation, because they're obviously they're the head of the table. They're the person who's picking the team every week. And obviously he's going into a consultancy role as well. As we rightly mentioned, Mark, though, Darren Fletcher would be the communication with John Murtaugh in this situation on the footballing side of things. And there's meant to be kind of a more unity, and there's meant to be more communication on that side. And in terms of like incomings and outgoings, we've been told that that's meant to be the case. So for me, if Martial has done that and he has refused to play, then I think maybe does Ralph Rangnick take a similar approach to what Roberto Mancini done back in 2011, 2012, where he at Manchester City, when Carlos Tevez refused to play, that they didn't play him. And they kept him away from the training ground, and they kind of nipped it in the bud there. So for me, I'm looking at this myself and I'm thinking, right, if that's the case, then it's probably best for all parties that he goes, because look, we all know Anthony Martial. On his day, he's a fantastic footballer, and especially we've seen that 1920 season, like in terms of being a natural, number 9. He's absolutely brilliant, and he's great at holding up the ball. Sometimes when he has that confidence and arrogance, he can be a fantastic footballer. But it's just one of these things where there's too much going on around this football club in terms of leaks coming from left, right, and centre, and then Ralph coming out like this. This is the worst a Manchester United dressing room has been in the last 20 years. That's an absolute fact. This is the worst dressing room we've had. Like, if you want to talk about lack of leadership, if you want to talk about, lack of character when we lose a game, there's just generic social media apologies. Like, when you look at it, it's so fractured at the minute. And me personally, I don't know how we fix this. I really don't. Benny, I want to come to you with Gainer's comment with regards to this, because Gainer says here, I think it'd be better for neither of them to say anything. This sort of thing should be kept behind closed doors. I mentioned a minute ago with regards to, obviously, we've had players been unrest in previous years, and especially under Sir Alex, there was times where the players would sort it out behind closed doors, or if a player wasn't happy, Ferguson would usually talk to him in his office and stuff like that, and then they put in the bud. When you look at this now, Benny, do you think it's a case where it's gone too far, and maybe it is best for Martial to maybe move on at this point, or because the longer the situation prolongs, the more speculation, the more unrest in the dressing room, could potentially get worse.
I don't think there's any way back for Anthony Martial, if I'm not being honest with you. Just listening to you all there saying about this one up under Ferguson, we really sit and forget that before we played Real Madrid in a big Champions League game, Wayne Rooney wanted away.
Yeah.
And Ferguson dropped him famously from that Real Madrid game in his final season. Let's not forget that. There have been unrest before. There have been players that have perhaps not been happy, that may have wanted away at different stages of their career. But Ferguson was the absolute mastermind at dealing with these players. He knew how to handle these players. I'm looking at it now, and you look at the group, and people are saying about leadership, but for me, it's a lack of fear factor. There's no fear factor at Man United anymore. There's no fear factor about performances or about code of conduct or anything. You think you stepped foot out of line back in the day, you used to have Roy Keane down your throat, you had Paul Ince down your throat, you'd have Eric Cantona saying things to you. And I was even as recently as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you know, big characters in there, telling you how to behave, talking to these younger players, and maybe trying to keep players in line a little bit. And I look at it now, and I just look at the dressing room, I'm like, where's this leadership? Where is that the one player that people might say Ronaldo a little bit, perhaps, but he's only been back a few months. I'm looking at this and I'm going, where's the actual leadership? Where's the actual guy that's probably going to go to someone like Tony Martial and say, listen, we know you're not happy, but you can't refuse to play for Man United, mate. At least put yourself on the bench, and just conduct yourself in a proper manner befitting of the football club. You can't behave like a child. You can't throw your toys out your pram just because you want away. And if I was Tony Martial, but maybe again I'm a bit old school. If I know I wanted away, I wanted to leave, whether it be this window or definitely at least in the summer window, I'd be busting a gut to go out there on the field and prove my worth. I put myself in the shopping window, so to speak, and get myself the best possible move I can get, whether it be across Europe or somewhere else in the world, wherever he wants to go. But the fact is, though, that I just don't know what's going on anymore. There's no fear. There's no fear from somebody. If it was me and we got back together, was back at Carrington, say Monday morning, and if I was one of them senior players, if I was somebody with some true leadership skills, I'll pull the guy to a side and say, listen, this is not on, mate. You can't be doing that. And I don't think Ralph's lying. Why would a manager who has... Why would he lie? I don't understand. Managers are there to give an honest opinion. I get it could have been kept behind closed doors, but let's not.
Ralph's
forget.
got nothing to lose by lying. I don't see why he would.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be, as I said, he's going to be in the job to the summer. And as we think he's going to be in a consultancy role for 2 more years after that. He's got no reason to lie. Why would he lie and cause a fractious relationship in that way? For me, Tony Martial has a demeanour and it's not been right all summer. And people could argue that Marcus Rashford, but I think Marcus Rashford's a totally different situation. Because I've seen that a lot as well. If it was Marcus Rashford because he's English, it was not because he's English. I think Marcus Rashford's struggling. I don't think his operation is healed from his operation properly. There's something physically wrong and mentally wrong with Marcus Rashford, but the guy's not refusing to play or refusing to be a part of the bench or saying, look, I don't want to, boss, Again, how do you manage Martial, though, going forward? Does Ralph really put the foot down and say, listen, if you don't want to play, you don't want to be on the bench, go you'll be in the 23s, mate. Go play for them. It could really, really make life difficult for Anthony Martial. I just think for Martial, just put your head down, lad. I know. Listen, if he wants away, fair play. He wants away. At the end of the day, I don't want players at this football club that don't want to be at this football club. And I've got to look at it from 2 ways as well, because Martial, as Stu would say, is one of my son's favourite. Is my son's favourite player, and my son's been really, really disappointed that that he's not been able to see as much this season, you know. And obviously, we all know footballers don't really care about fans, but Martial's one of those that came through with a lot of kids looking up to him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what sort of example you set to kids? You know, you're a father yourself. What kind of example you set to these kids by sulking and not wanting to play? You know, irrespective if it's Manchester United or not. But things got on that bad at the football club now. We've heard before that players have refused to train and have done other bits and bobs to come and join ourselves, you know, to force them to move through to what they say is their dream, their sort of dream club to come to. But have things fallen that badly now? Have things sort of fractured that badly inside our football club, inside our dressing room? Now the players are... What we once deemed that players would never do to us is now happening to us, where they are causing fractious relationships to get away. They are trying to be a nuisance, a pain in the backside to force a move to elsewhere, wherever they want to go. Because in our lifetime, we're quite young. I mean, Stu might be able. I'm not saying that it's not trying to be an ageist thing here, Stu, but Stu might be able to say a little bit differently because he's a bit older than us if it happened in the past, but. Certainly from our sort of generation, the only really time that I really thought that anyone stepped out of line was Wayne Rooney, and that was quickly nipped in the bud. He had a lot of experienced players around him saying, "Listen, Wazzy, you can't do that. You can't be saying that." And the second time, you know, people say it's unforgivable, but he still he didn't go. He signed a new deal, got his head down, got the captaincy, became the United's all-time leading goal scorer, and redeemed himself that way. I just don't know where Anthony Martial could go from here to redeem himself. I don't. I just think it's probably best that we maybe, look to sell him on this window. Definitely in the summer. If he wants to go, then he wants to go. But how do you mend that? How do you mend that dressing room now? Is the big fear for me. They've seen that Martial can play up now. How many more are going to start playing up? That's the main concern now for me.
Absolutely. I think this could maybe set a bad precedent in these next kind of couple of months as to what could happen, because if you think about, we've so many players coming out of contract as well in these next 6 months as well. So like with that can cause a lot of stress in the dressing room, a lot of unrest, and this could really mess up Man United's season. Not that it can probably get any worse. It's really bad at the moment. You know, like we're kind of looking at, on the current kind of wave we're going on, we're looking at the Conference League at the moment. You know, like that's how bad it's been in these last couple of months. And like as I said, like there's so many players coming out of contract. You have your Cavani's, you have your Pogba's, Lingards. Like now they may be looking at it and say, "Oh, hold on, Martial's doing this now. Do I maybe do this to push from my moving or get a better contract?" Like this is where I think that the club is fractured. And really, I've never seen a Manchester United dressing room in my lifetime. Now, look, I'm 25, so like, look, to be fair, I've been spoiled under Sir Alex Ferguson. You know, like I've seen all them years, like in that regard. But like in this last 7-8 years, I haven't seen a Manchester United dressing room so unsettled. A Manchester United dressing room, a bunch of whinge bags. If I be honest, a lot of these players are a bunch of whinge bags. And again, if you don't want to play for Manchester United, then off you go. And that's my attitude of it. And like we're the biggest football club in the world. And if you don't want to put on that shirt and show commitment, I'm not just singling out Martial here now, just before people in the comments think I might be. I'm not singling out Martial. I'm saying this about every player, whether it's Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, whoever it may be. If you do not want to play for Manchester United Football Club, off you go. Simple as. We find someone who will. There's plenty of players out there in the world who only love to put on that shirt and die for the shirt. Like we want players who are fully committed, because in the last 7-8 years we've had mercenaries at Man United. We've had mercenaries, players coming for big wages. Players coming, to help, I suppose, massage their ego. And I think now at this moment in time, we need to get away from that model. We really do. Now, I suppose it's kind of hard in this day and age in football. It's not the way it was when we had the Rooney's, the Scholes, Giggs, all these players. Them types of mentalities aren't there anymore. They're a dime a dozen now. They really are. So, look, for me, I'm in the boat now of, look, if you're not commitment, off you go. See you later. Goodbye. And that's the way I am. Fred, to play devil's advocate here, though, obviously, sorry for the pun with the show. Like, let's say Martial is telling the truth, and let's say Martial is wanting to stay and is wanting to prove his worth, and he sees obviously we're fluctuating between systems 4-2-2, 4-1-4-1, 4-2-3-1, and he's seeing players underperforming, and he's thinking, why aren't I in the team? Like, why can't I make a difference? Why can't I contribute? Is he maybe looking at this and seeing players who are consistently underperforming, and he's thinking, why would I want to be here if I'm not getting a chance?
Yes. Look, first of all, if that is the case, then he has every right to be, aggrieved. If players ahead of him are underperforming, then yes, you're going to be unhappy. But ultimately, that decision lies with the manager and the club. If someone's not performing, then we need to utilize the squad more. And this has been the problem for the last few years. We've not really been rewarding or playing players based on performance. And it was probably one of the biggest criticisms of Ollie during his tenure. He had his favourites. He didn't drop players when they were underperforming. And this is just a culture that's been set over a large number of years by the club in general. They've created a culture whereby they're giving high lavish contracts to mediocre players. Players know that they're getting an easy ride at the club, that they don't necessarily have to perform to take a wage. I don't know how the contracts are set, if there's many performance-based add-ons or if we're just paying a fixed contract each week to these players, but there's no motivation for anyone to kick on. And I just think the culture has been set right from the very top in the worst way possible. And it's only recently that it's just reached boiling point, and it's no surprise really that how it's unravelled, how it's fed down to the squad and the team itself. With regards to Martial, he has every right if the club has put this out and it's incorrect and he hasn't actually refused to train. But I just can't see, looking at it from a logical point of view, I can't see why Ralph would even raise that point in a press conference if that weren't the case. He's just come in. He's come in from a fresh slate. He has no allegiance to these players or the club. He's only saying what he's seen over the past 5 weeks. Why would he fabricate something that's not true? Look, we'll never know. We'll never know what's actually happened. Ralph's been very transparent in his interviews and his conferences. This, like Gaynor's coming earlier on, this should have probably been dealt with behind closed doors. It's just the cherry on top of the icing, really, how unprofessional the club has been running in recent years. And the big thing is we've got such a big squad that why some of the players are still in the team or this squad this season, there's no shock that there's going to be disharmony in the dressing room. Martial, if I'm not wrong, I think Mourinho wanted to sell Martial all those years ago, and I think it was Woodward that blocked that deal. That just says everything. Who's running the club? Are we giving the managers the ability to make decisions, or is it the execs that are making these decisions? I mean, Martial probably should have been sold years ago. We've given him everything he wanted. He's on £200,000 to £250,000 a week somehow. He wanted to become a striker. We converted him into a striker. We gave him the number 9 shirt, albeit we took that away when Zlatan joined. Yeah. We've given him everything. So he's just not, the output or the return has not worked. So he has to go. But I just think there's no surprise. The club have got themselves into this mess. Henderson should have left in the summer. Lingard should have left in the summer when his stock was high. Why Matter was given a new contract, I don't know. Van de Beek, God knows what's going on there.
Not gonna lie, Fred, the Mata contract mystified me the most, because if you look at the players in his position, Bruno, Donny, Lingard to that extent, and then you have young Hannibal coming up as well. And if you're looking at the number 10s in the football club, didn't really make sense to me at that time when he was given the contract. Now, I don't know whether it's to have an experienced kind of player in the dressing room kind of at that time, but I think it's just, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the way the club is ran, and again, it's one of these things where we're never going to know. And maybe now with this new setup, everything is going to be a bit more transparent.
Yeah, it has to be. Look at the way other clubs and our rivals are being run. We don't hear of these issues. It's a common thing in football where you're going to have players in the dressing room, kick up a fuss if they're not going to play. That happens in every team. It's the matter how you deal with it, and you deal with it in private, not in public. To me, the club is just run so poorly. I think it's one of the worst run clubs in the league. Until the top is fixed. So the execs sort themselves out effectively. Only then is it going to feed down, and we're going to reap the benefits on the pitch. But I think we can only hope that the Richard Arnold coming in and the new pending manager, we can just hope that they implement radical change and we actually get run like a proper football club. But we need to build for the long term, build around youth, and in order to get out of this mess, we just need to start winning games. So Ralph's got a lot of work to do in that regard.
Absolutely. And one phrase I always hear in life, it's the hope that kills you. And that's literally the way it is with Manchester United at the moment. But guys, this has been a banging show so far, 26 minutes in. The comments are absolutely banging tonight. I do appreciate them. Keep them coming. And as always, guys, do smash like the video. Hit that subscribe button. We've had absolutely unreal content in this last week. And look, this is only going to continue rolling into 2022. So do continue to show support to all for United as always. And look, as always, we are balanced Manchester United fans giving passionate opinions. So if you like that type of thing, do stay over here on All for United. And if you're watching on Facebook, on other social media channels, don't forget, jump over to YouTube and get involved in the conversation as well. But Andrew, I'm going to come to you on this with regards to the situation, because a lot of people who would be in the Martial camp are saying 100% Ralph Rangnick, is just telling lies. Why wouldn't he want to play? But I'm going to come to John Kermoda's comment with this, because it would make sense as the reason why Ralph Rangnick will be telling the truth. It says, have to remember also, Ralph Rangnick named 2 goalkeepers on the bench to fill space. Why would he feel the need to do that? I personally think if he wanted to be there, he would have been. And also, you look at Rashford being out, Paul Pogba being out. On the left side, we didn't have that many options. We had to play young Elanga. For you, obviously, Andrew, this is a situation brewing in terms of not just Martial, but Lingard's been putting up pictures in West Ham jerseys. Donny van de Beek's agent has been coming out and, been saying all sorts of things in the media as well. Are you just in the position where you're just absolutely sick of all these rumors, sick of all these, leaks coming out of the dressing room, and do you really just want these players to just get back to the basics, be United by name, United by nature, and just get back to their football?
I was going to say, these situations, it just shows some of the fundamental problems the club has at the moment, and it's in such a mess. I feel like it's much worse than when Mourinho left and the state he left the club in, and the players, the staff were all down, and Ollie came in and picked up everybody. But now it just seems a lot worse. I mean, I feel like there's 3 versions of what the situation is. There's Rangnick's version, there's Martial's version, and then the truth is in the middle somewhere. But what is the truth? If it's true what Martial he refused to play, then, well, it's a big insult to us supporters because he's paid a big wage. But also there appears to be a big communication breakdown between him and Rangnick. And obviously the manager's then sort of thrown him under the bus after the game. And then Martial's just fired back and said, well, I didn't refuse to come and play. But I think with Martial, he's unlikely to leave the club before the this transfer window if the club can find any takers for him. And I mean, Martial's high wages, I think he's on a reported 250 grand a week. So I know Sevilla are interested, but I think they're only willing to pay half of his wages, which United have said, well, no, we want a loan fee and all the wages paid as well. But he's not played a single game under Rangnick yet. He's not even been on the bench. I think I saw that he was back in training today, so he seems all smiles, but what's going on? I mean, I know he wants to leave, and the club are some way from reaching an agreement on that. And what Rangnick did, I know he's an experienced coach, but he must have known he was taking a risk by taking the action he did. But by saying Martial's not prepared to play for United, he's sort of weak in his position in the negotiations as well. But it's sort of normal that one-to-away players don't want to, play games, get injured, and then it puts their move in doubt. But it's just a compromise needs to reach between both their parties without the whole world knowing what's going on. But I think this is where Manchester United are in 2022. It's just, and also with like Ronaldo, when he's missed the last 2 games, but that interview he gave, he was openly questioning the attitude and the mentality of his teammates. And you look at, we've had successful managers before, like in Louis van Gaal and Mourinho, and they failed to mount even a title challenge on the other team. So it's I don't know where we go here with the next. It's just, I think back to the start of the season when we got Ronaldo in and Varane, it was to shore up everything, and was finally supposed to go toe to toe with the likes of City and Liverpool. And now it just seems that top 4 is going to be a right slog until the end, and whether we get it is another question. I mean, United need a full-time leader in that dressing room in terms of a manager. It's hard to see how those fundamental improvements are going to be made. The players know at the end of the season that Rangnick's off upstairs, and they know a new man's coming in to replace them. But in terms of Rangnick, I can see why he's probably been going on the offensive recently. He's just trying to get the players to react and behave in a more professional way, and trying to establish authority. But has he gone the right way about it? I don't know. It's just, as I say, some of the players are like, well, I'm going to be off out of here in either this month or at the end of the summer. So, but I think if the players, if you don't want to be in, you don't want to play for Manchester United, then we'll go and find other players that will want to come and fight for the club and the badge and lead us on to greater things.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head with that. And look, it's just an absolute travesty. It's an absolute mess, and you're absolutely right. Like, look, top 4, like, look. At the start of the season, we all were thinking, yeah, top 4 would be nailed on. Look, we're after having a brilliant transfer window. You're bringing in Varane, Sancho, and then you bring in Cristiano Ronaldo. Look, and all expectations went through the roof. They were quite evidently when you bring in a serial goal scorer like that. But I think one thing we all, in terms of expectations, we still didn't get that midfield player in. I think that's where a lot of people are looking at the imbalance of the squad, that midfield player wasn't brought in. And look, me, myself, like, when Ronaldo came in, I was absolutely buzzing. I'm reliving my childhood type of thing. But after the buzz wore off after that Newcastle game, and you kind of still seeing some holes, you're thinking, it's still going to be a push to challenge for the league. But like, natural progression from 3rd to 2nd, you expect at least a title challenge. And look, a lot of these players have been found out this season in terms of their expectation and the mentality. And I think when you look at the overall attitudes of some of these players, like body language, some of it's just appalling. You wonder, how are some of these players professionals? Like, if you look at some of these guys, and look, it's really mystifying. Still, I wanted to bring this point to you because you go heavy in with the tactics on the tactical previews and stuff like that, and you'll be very well versed at that side of the game. You look at some of these players right now, and you look at, like I mentioned a moment ago, body language. And a lot of these players, when the going gets tough, we seen yesterday, we concede 1 goal, and all of a sudden their body language goes from here to down here. We had one of our best performances under Ralph Rangnick in the first half, and then start the second half, and then that kind of went to a lopsided when we conceded that goal yesterday. Do you look at some of these players and just think, are they just mentally shot at the moment? Like the fact Cristiano Ronaldo's come into the dressing room and expectation levels in terms of standards in the football club have kind of gone through the roof almost. And some of these players were maybe protected too much under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And now it's a case that you have a ruthless operator in Ralph Rangnick coming in, and they know he's going upstairs. So by all means, we all think he's probably in communication with the future manager right now. Do you maybe think some of these players are just shitting the bed right now, and they're thinking our days are numbered and they're just down in tools at the moment?
You're just talking about, unfortunately, you're talking about modern footballers. They're a bunch of absolute girls, a lot of them. There's not a man amongst them. And that's the biggest problem for me because, football's a contact sport. I always said to my lad, if you don't come off that pitch limping, bruised, bleeding, shattered, you haven't played. What was the point of crossing the white line if you're not coming out with a multitude of of injuries? I used to come off limping every game. I'd have a cut head, I'd have been stamped on, I'd have been elbowed, and that's just by the centre forward. I'm a goalkeeper. That's got, plus what I was doing during the game.
You're like the monk.
Yeah, there's just nothing in there. And I talk about intelligence a lot. And nobody accuses me of anything, but the lads would always say, broken record, Stu, you're talking about the same thing all the time. But the fact of it is, it's always been the truth. When you're out on that pitch, there's nobody better to assess what's going on than yourself. Absolutely nobody. You can have as many coaches, world-class coaches as you like on the sidelines. You can affect more during a match than what your coach can, than what Rangnick can, by telling you where to be at any one time. When I was 8 years old, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, my coach put up a blank pitch, and then he split it into squares, into segments. And every time we would look at where we're going to be playing, how we're going to be playing, he would give you your segment, and that was your area of the pitch that you would be in charge of. And you would then be bringing players into your area of the pitch if, for example, their right winger was being influential. You knew how to deal with it. Now, there's a huge disparity. People go on about me and Henderson. I like Henderson because Henderson is a controller of his 18-yard box. The huge gaps between our centre halves and the goalkeeper, our centre halves and our central midfield, it's huge. And that's why players and number 10s are floating in all the time. When you've got De Gea, who's absolutely on his game at the minute, but he's a shot stopper and he's absolutely glued to his line, there's too big a gap between the centre halves and the keeper. And so coming back to what you were saying, this is what was happening. And Villa got hold of it after about 30 minutes over the weekend. I tweeted on 30 minutes, the game's done. It's completely changed. The whole balance of the game had gone because they decided they were going to hit us where it hurt and they were exploiting the gaps. Now, look, Rangnick is coming out and he's doing his utmost to try and add a bit of professionalism into our ranks because we just don't have it at the minute. You know, people go on about captains, they're going about this and they're going about that. I never paid a blind bit of notice to my skipper. Not once. I couldn't give a toss what he was talking about. I was too busy concentrating on what I was doing. And these players have got to get back to basics. I'm not talking about 2-3 yard points, etc., etc., etc. I'm talking about wanting to play football, actually wanting to pull on the shirt and wanting to go out there and play football. And we just don't. The players of today, when you gave the first 35 grand a week contract out to Alan Shearer when he went to Newcastle, the game was ruined overnight. Because if you're a multimillionaire sitting in a dressing room and somebody's having a pop at you, you don't care. If you're on 500 quid a week, you do care because you can't afford to lose your job. And this is the problem with football. And football's an architect of its own downfall on this. And I'll say one thing about Rangnick and Martial. Rangnick's played an absolute masterstroke here. I know people won't agree with me. He's played an absolute masterstroke because he's called out a player. So if he's going to call out Martial, he'll call out now anyone else. He doesn't care. And so he shouldn't. He's got no reason to lie. And if you look at Martial's comments, it was a very, very, very carefully worded statement because he never said at any one time did he refuse to play. I would never not want to play for Man United. There's a huge disparity between refusing and not wanting. It's absolutely huge. So, look, I'll probably be talking about this in 6 months' time, about player responsibility. People can go in on the managers as much as they like. But if you misplace a header, you miss a tackle, you misplace a 5-yard pass, it's your own fault. It's got fuck all to do with who's coaching you. It's you. It's your feet. It's your head. It's your eyes. And so, yeah, so they are a bunch of posers, a lot of them. They need to rein it back in and start doing what they paid to do, what they want to do, what they love to do.
Absolutely. And I absolutely bloody agree with that 100%. Some of these guys, I think, have been, I suppose, getting away with it for too long. And a lot of these guys haven't showed commitment. They haven't showed desire. I spoke to 2 former United players the other day with regards to this type of situation. And what they said to me was, if you didn't show that commitment on the football pitch, Keno, Scholesy, Giggsy, they'd tear you into the dressing room at half time. And they'd be, I'm not going to say the words exactly what it said to me, but they'd be giving you, the every F word you can think of in life. Like, do you know what I mean? It'd be extreme.
There's a real problem. There's a real problem, Keane, at the minute, pal, where we don't understand what it means to win football matches anymore. Yeah. And you can win 1-0 and you can go over to your mate and shake his hand and that. I'll be off down the fucking tunnel. I was such a bad winner. I'm such a bad. If we lost, I wouldn't fucking shake anyone's hand. Wouldn't speak to anyone. Don't come near me. We should not be, you should never lose a game of football. There's always something you can do to affect a game, always. There are some times where there are 3 or 4 or 5 better players than you on there. Fucking deal with them. There's always a way to deal with a player. I said on a show a couple of weeks ago, stick a reducer in. Benny will know what a reducer is. It's nothing hard. You don't go out and you hurt some player, but you make him think twice. You make him think when he's receiving the ball again, fuck, where's Stu? Oh, is he anywhere near me? Because he's going to hit me. Benny was a goalkeeper. My goalkeeper used to punch me out the way to get to a football. Literally, fuck off, get out of my way and punch me. You don't see any of this anymore. We don't chase hard enough. It's not about pressing. It's about wanting to win that football. It's about wanting to win a game of football. It's this desire, this burning desire inside your stomach that just comes out like a primeval monster that you have to win. You've got to win, and that's just the way I was brought up. I have to win. I hate losing with my mates on a Monday evening. Can't stand losing. Hate it. But you've got to do everything you can to win. And unfortunately, our guys are too busy choosing their next Porsche or whatever, their new Bentley or their next 8 million quid mansion. They're not interested in the fundamentals of football anymore. And it's such a shame. Sorry, rant over.
Look, absolutely work away. I love the passion. I love when everyone gives their opinion, because look, at the end of the day, we all love the football club. We all fell in love with the club because of the players' commitment and desire and will to win and never giving up until the last minute. And when you don't see that now, it's a disillusion to what we did see. And I'll come to this on your point as well, Stu, on these players being overpaid and not not being, I suppose, committed to the badge. And this is not just at United, this is just a fundamental problem in football. And I heard this phrase in boxing before. It's kind of hard to get up in the morning and go for a run when you're wearing silk pajamas. Do you know what I mean? And I'd apply that to this generation of football, this current Manchester United team, because a lot of these players, are getting away with it, and they don't care. They don't give a fuck. Sorry for language, guys.
Stealing a living. They're stealing a living. Absolutely stealing a living. There are certain players that it still to this day should be the biggest draw in club football, above Barcelona and Real Madrid. Manchester United should still be the biggest draw in club football. You are chosen to play for United. You are chosen. You don't go knocking on Man United's door and say, "Oh, can I have a contract?" You are chosen to play for the greatest club on the planet. Okay, and these guys don't seem to care anymore. And it's got nothing to do with actually whether you're a British player. Benny was right. Whether you're an English player, a British player or not, that doesn't matter anymore, because people understand the draw of Manchester United, or used to understand the draw of Manchester United. And I think somebody like Rangnick, who's a bit old school, somebody who will take a player and have a real chat with him and tell him it's unacceptable, it's not good enough what you're doing. To call a player out, I've always loved when a manager's called a player out publicly. I like it. You want the limelight, you want this so-called superstardom, you want people to adulate you. Well, tough pal. It works both ways.
Yeah, you've got to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you do, and we. Our players, they just haven't got the mental stomach to do it. They haven't got the mental strength. I almost tweeted yesterday. If you watch the City Chelsea match, I almost tweeted yesterday that Pep's got his players drinking their special drinks again, because when you look at all the clubs that are around, Guardiola's team are just relentless, aren't they? Completely relentless. Everybody else, we're way off the pace. Whether it's, I don't know what it is with our guys, whether they can't be bothered to train, whether they've got a 2-hour schedule, I'll go and train for 2 hours. Ronaldo was right to question, well, why aren't you going to the gym after? Why aren't you outside practicing free kicks? Why isn't Wan-Bissaka practicing running up and down the wing, with cones and delivering the perfect cross? Why isn't Fred getting the ball and laying it 3 yards, and things like that nature? These are fucking basics.
Stu, do you think that this is the fault of the players, or is it the fault of the club for not bringing in a certain profile of player whereby they have the ability as well as the personality on and off the pitch?
It's a bit of both, actually, Fred, because you do need that inner ability, that you need that inner kind of monster within you to make you want to do that. To say to the wife, "Sorry, I can't take you Prada shopping this afternoon, love. I've got to practice on my heading." See, look, my heading ability for a centre half wasn't great. I could get up in the air no problem and knock one away. And if I missed it, I'd be wondering what type of game I'm going to have. If I miss my first header, I'd always be wondering what type of game I would have. So then I'd go and I'd start looking at it again. But I will tell you one thing that I did used to do, right? I always used to try and find out by talking to friends in other teams what the centre forward of the team I was playing, what he was like. What, you know, was he aggressive? Did he back into you and all of this? Harry Maguire, just a quick example, is having a real bad time with it at the minute. Now, just take Jimenez at Wolves. I'm just taking a player. Just take Jimenez at Wolves. There's nothing stopping Maguire after training going into the analytics room and watching Jimenez for 2 hours with an analyzer, a video analyzer, and saying, right, does he take the ball on his left foot or is it his right foot? Does he back in or do I need to give him an extra yard? Would he get a flick on or does he prefer to chest? You know, is he a better crosser with his right foot or his left foot? I'm talking basics here, Fred. I'm not even talking anything, you know, anything unusual. But I get the sense that our players haven't got the energy or the desire to do that. But that's how you improve your game. You've got to improve yourself as a person. And that's how you improve your game. And I could never walk into, you know, if I've made a mistake on a Saturday and we go train on a Tuesday night, I know I've made the mistake. The lads are telling me I've made the mistake, and I'm doing everything that I can to make sure I don't make that mistake again. And I just don't get the sense that our players are doing that. I could be wrong, but I just don't get the sense they are.
Yeah,
It's true. They've got the hunger, mate. There's no hunger. There's no desire there. You're actually spot on. If I was like Harry Maguire myself, I'd be like looking at myself and going, "Listen, I've had a bit of a bad time. Where can I improve?" Like you said, go to a video like this. I'll even poach. I'll even poach a couple of coaches and be like, "Look, where am I going wrong? Where's my game need fixing?" I just don't know if these Monday footballers have it in them anymore. It's like you used to look at players back in the day. Used to put extra hard yards in the training, stay after training. David Beckham worked on his game every single day of the week. He'd be the one staying behind, you know, picking out a goalkeeper from the reserves. Can you go in net while I ping 53 kicks at you, or hanging a tyre off the crossbar trying to get the ball through the tyre? You know, do you honestly see many of this modern generation of footballers doing that? I can't, you know. And it all comes down to desire. And like you said, it's like you're playing for the biggest club in the world. You know, do you want to be successful? Do you want to be known as a really good footballer, or do you want to be known as an absolute superstar? Because only superstars, yes, you still remember really good footballers, but only superstars get the limelight. Only superstars winning trophies are put up on a pedestal, you know. It just seems that a lot of these Monday footballers, except second best, it's like, yeah, they shrug it off. Oh, yeah, we'll try and do better next time, you know. Your words mean nothing. Get yourself out on that training field and apply yourself properly. And if you have to do extra sessions, do extra sessions. You know, I'm sure if you went to a coach or you went to a couple of teammates, listen, I need to work on something. Do you mind staying behind? I'm sure there'll be, even if it's from someone from the youth teams or something, I'm sure somebody will be like, yes, of course we'll help you. You know, is there that mentality anymore? Is it that sort of passion to go and want to be the very best that you can be? Because if you look at Maguire when he plays for England, it's a totally different player than Maguire that plays for us. You know, it seems that he has his whole world off his shoulders. He's comfortable playing for England. Perhaps he likes England settled better. I don't know, but you've got to also think as a footballer. What's this football club like before I move into it? It's Manchester United, right? Okay, it's a behemoth of a football club. You know, if I'm not on my game, I know I'm going to get hounded. If I'm not doing well in training, I'm going to get called out. But who's doing the calling out apart from the fans and apart from the media? How do players on a match day or after a match day? Who's setting the standards of training? I mean, Ralph's come in. Yes, he's only been a short period of time, and it feels like he's already losing a battle with some of these players. It's like, you know, Ralph is an absolute technical mastermind of management. You know, you can learn a lot of things off him. The likes of Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel. They've learned off this guy. You know, surely if I was looking at myself as a player, I'd be like, this guy might have something here that could at least improve my game, if not take it on to the next level. I should be doing everything that I can to listen to this guy, to try and get extra information from him, to try and get the extra bit of coaching that might develop me. I don't know, mate. I could be completely wrong. So, there probably is players in that squad that are hungry. I look at Alanga. That guy looks hungry to me. You know, I'm glad that he's in the team. It's fresh and that's look up to me. I look up to Greenwood. I look at Greenwood. I think, yeah, that guy looks hungry. Yes, he could possibly work on his game a little bit, be a little bit less greedy, but he looks up for the fight. We go back to Martial again. I look at him and I don't see nothing in the guy. I don't see no fight. I don't see no passion. I don't see no wanting to improve myself. If I was Martial, you know, a few years ago, and when you had the world at your feet, you could have been one of the best strikers in the world, lad. You could have been a Ballon d'Or worthy player. But are we not push? Why don't we not push ourselves to it? You know, you look at someone across, dare I say it, down the East Lancs Road at Mo Salah. He had a torrid time at Chelsea, goes to Liverpool, worked on his game very, very hard since he's been at Liverpool. I know he's been at Roma in between, but goes to Liverpool, and now look at him, he's probably for anybody's money, he's probably the best player in the world right now, you know. And you're looking at our players, any one of you want that fight, want that desire to, you know, if you're not going to do it for your club, do it for yourselves. You know, do be the best that you can be on that football pitch. Don't accept second best. Don't just accept mediocrity, because it's easy. It's easy to go home after training, after a couple of hours training, go on your Xbox, or go and take your wife out Gucci shopping or whatever it may be. That's the easy life. Put in the hard graft, put in the hard work that befits a club of Manchester United. Work at your game. You know, all the best players that play for Man United, and everybody's got a natural gift and natural talent to play professional football. That's really professional footballers. But the ones that have worked extra hard at the game have always gone to the next level. You like see David Beckham's, you like see Cristiano Ronaldo as well. That's why I think Cristiano was spot on when he came and called the players out. It's like, well, King even said it was spot on Sky Sports. You know, this is a player that's a natural ball winner. He has kept himself in the greatest shape I've ever seen a footballer of his age. You know, he's worked at his game. He's not been, yes, he's naturally gifted as a footballer, but you wouldn't say he's as naturally gifted as a Lionel Messi that maybe doesn't have to work at his game so hard. But yeah, he works at his game and tries to keep himself as up there with as one of the best footballers that you've ever seen in your life. You know, you've got to want it. You've got to want to win. You've got to want to be the very, very best. And I see this in the United team just look fearful of that. It's like, oh, but if I make a mistake, but yeah, people hound Bruno Fernandes for misplay, but at least the guy plays them subtle passes where, you know, if it comes off, great, we're in a goal scoring opportunity. He's not playing the safe passes all the time. He's not looking to be safe like a Federer McTominay where they just want to pass it 2 yards sideways to each other. He's looking to take risks. Who else is looking to take risks? Yesterday, look at Bruno Fernandes today. He's pulling us through that game. You know, it looked like the Bruno Fernandes of old. It finally looked like we've got our Bruno back, you know, after maybe a different little period of time.
I said that yesterday myself. I was watching the game, and the fact we were in a different shape yesterday in terms of Bruno, and he was playing in his natural position, and he was getting on the ball, and he was influencing things. And this is where I don't get as well, Benny. I'm in absolute agreement with you. I see too much on social media in terms of Bruno keeps losing the ball. Do you know before we signed him, we had Pereira and Lingard in the number 10 role, who are getting shoehorned to that role. And people are talking about them playing the safe pass. They're playing too square. McTominay's playing too square. Fred's playing too square. Though Pogba was injured at the time, so we didn't have Pogba there. And people are saying the players aren't trying that forward pass. They need to play that killer pass. Now we've Bruno there, who's taking that accountability, being that player who's trying to influence games and get on the ball, and then people criticize him for it. I'll tell you one thing. Take him out of the team, right? And bring back the same players that are playing in the team before he was there. And then we'll see the difference that Bruno's made, and then you'll be crying to bring him back into the team. So you hit the nail on the head there with regards to it.
Just a quickie on that, you can actually afford, any team can afford to have a risk taker. You can actually afford to have 2 or 3 risk takers in the team, providing that we're well balanced, not well coached, but well balanced. So if Bruno's trying this rakish pass, and as Benny said, it doesn't come off all the time, providing you've got some kind of shape, you should still be able to counteract any kind of counterpunch you're getting. It's a very, very simple term. And we did get the old Bruno back, because he was given that kind of wide role, that role. If we got somebody like, look, I'm not going to go into the Donny van de Beek debate at all. That's not what it's
about. On that one.
But if we had Donny in there alongside Bruno yesterday, we would have been able to nullify what Villa were doing, because Donny is so much of a calmer player. You know, Matic doesn't have the legs. Fred's just runs around like a headless chicken half the time. You know, Donny and Bruno would suit themselves in the system that Rangnick was playing yesterday. So, sorry, Mark. I know you want to go.
4-1-4-1, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you notice that yesterday? Yeah.
Sorry, just on those points, one at a time. Just on those points, Benny hit the nail on the head, but I do blame the club for that. The recruitment over a number of years now, and even a couple of years before Sir Alex finished, has been very, very poor. What they have tried to base their recruitment on are flashy players that everyone knows about that don't fit the system. And, you know, Liverpool, for example, and a lot of other clubs now use analytics. And it's something that United haven't caught up with. And the reason why Salah has flourished, even though he was in the Premier League before, didn't get into the Chelsea team much, is because he fit that system. They look at attributes, they get those types of players with attributes in, and those attributes will support the team and bring the best out of it. And that's something United don't have. And if you look back over the years, you know, obviously I remember the Ferguson times, even probably before that. It's like when you go for an interview, you don't look at the person's ability. You look at what they bring to the team from a mental perspective, and just how they are as a character. And that's something we haven't done. We've brought in these lavish players that ultimately don't give a shit. And that needs to stop. And again, it's all down to the club, unfortunately.
Just one quick point. Yeah, just one quick point on that. Sorry, King. Benny will know this. I often talk about a collective group of good players, but average players. No so-called superstars. I don't like the superstar term anyway. They're so difficult to beat because they know exactly what to do at any given time to get the football. They know exactly where their centre half is. They know exactly where their centre forward's going to be. They know exactly the run where their winger's going to be at any given time. Not because they're well coached or anything like that, because they play together as a group. They play together as a collective. I got laughed at. God, I think it was one of my very first or second shows, because I brought up and I mentioned Connor Cody being that type of player. He's not anything. He's not fashionable, but he's leading Wolves at the moment to a wonderful run of form, because he's just a standard player who can play football. What are you guys giggling at?
Yeah, it's not used to. Don't worry.
No, that's all right.
Could I just interject on the recruitment point that Mark made, please? I think this is totally the club's doing, and I think it's one of the reasons, or the main reasons, why we find ourselves in this mess. I just think that the club have prioritised commercialism over the footballing matters for so long, whereby they are they've signed players that have the best social media engagement, the best impact on the share price, and inevitably that hinders you in that most of the players that fit that criteria are attackers, they're big names, they're Galacticos, and that's why there's such a strong imbalance in the squad. That's why we're top heavy. That's why we've got such a limited defence and midfield, and why we haven't got those industrious players in the squad. The priorities have just been completely wrong. And what I don't understand is the club, you're losing money. You know, if these guys just care about money, this model is not sustainable, because the amount of players we've signed for stupid money and then sold them for half the price, or we've sold them and we're having to subsidise their wages, like Sanchez and all the others. That's, for me, recruitment has been the underlying issue. Like I said earlier, handing out these lavish contracts to mediocre players, and which meaning then we can't sell them. You know, we've still got Pereira on our books. Look how long it took for us to offload Rojo. Phil Jones is still on the bloody books, albeit he's had one good game recently.
With
it's
any
just
luck,
been an absolute
Pereira will be
shambles.
gone in the next couple of weeks.
We've been saying, how long have we been saying that for, though? You know, and then
Too long, but I think he's finally going to be off the books in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I hope so. But the fact of the matter is, these guys, they're meant to be. They're getting praised that okay, they're business people. They don't know about the football side. They're not even getting the business side right. So it's just so concerning all round, and that's what the problem is. Until the whole structure, the whole pyramid is fixed, only then will it trickle down, and we'll start reaping the benefits on the field.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head there, Fred, with regards to that. Because if you look at the way the football club's been run, let's say post David Gill and Alex Ferguson, like the recruitment, as you said, it's been kind of the situation where they're doing it on the best social media engagements. What player is popular in FIFA? Though these little stupid types of things that, let's say, Ed Woodward is recruiting, he's like, oh yeah, he'd be a good player for Manchester United. What I always come back to with the recruitment situation is Jose Mourinho was told by someone on the board. Now, bearing in mind at this time, we had no football people on the board, but someone told him he couldn't sign a centre-back. You can't sign that centre-back. Now, what qualified person on that board at that time, who were all bankers essentially and not football people, had the right to tell one of the best managers of all time, Jose Mourinho, arguably in the Premier League era, that he couldn't sign that centre-back to improve Manchester United on the back of a second-place finish? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if you look at it that way, there's too many people at the club, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well, that are spoofers. Absolute spoofers. The best word I could use without being unprofessional. But, like, you know, I look at some of these people and it's like, how do they have the right to tell Mourinho that? Like, how did can they tell one of the most renowned managers, you can't sign that player? You're not allowed to sign him. And even if you look at Fred that time, when we signed Fred and Dalot in that same transfer window, they signed Fred on the back that like he's a Brazilian player and we want to get that Brazilian market. Because Jose Mourinho came out and said Fred was his sixth choice on that list of midfielders that summer. He was like fifth or sixth, something in and along them lines. You know, so like for me, I'm looking at that and say like this is where it's so fractured in terms of the way the club was ran. And it comes back to the fact now that, okay, Arnold is now saying prospectively, like he's going to give Fletcher and Murta and Rangnick's obviously coming in that consultancy role. They're getting the responsibility on the football side of things, and they're going to be kind of looking at after that. And obviously, Woodward is going into a different role now, and Arnold will still be looking at kind of the commercial side of things. If that's the case, then maybe we can adopt a philosophy now that we can look for a certain profile of player. Because if you look at all the different managers we've had, we haven't bought players to suit a system. It's been individuals we bought, and you can see why our play isn't consistent. Why we don't score like the same type of goal. Like if you look at Liverpool and Manchester City, for example, I hate the bastards. So I absolutely despise them. But one thing about them is you can't deny is they score the same type of goal every week. You can identify their style of play, their philosophy, their principles in terms of the way they want to play the game. They score the same type of goal. We United, it's all off the cuff, and this isn't a slight on really, I suppose, any of the managers that we did have post Sir Alex, but the recruitment's been absolutely shambolic. And then again, I go back to the point that we've bought players like mercenaries who've come in. Now, look, at the end of the day, that's the club's fault. It's the players' fault. We haven't got the players in the right mentality to suit an ethos and a philosophy. Now, I hope to God with this new perspective setup that we have that, right, Rangnick's here for 6 months. That's great. One thing I love about this is if he's going into this consultancy role and he has a say, Ralph Rangnick can talk to this new manager now. If we have an actual plan, and if what we're saying out in the media is true, that we have a plan, then Ralph Rangnick can talk to, I'm just going to talk hypothetically here and say, Mauricio Pochettino. He's like, right, look, Bruno Fernandes is doing well in the number 10 role. Right, let's bring in a holding midfielder so he can, push forward that bit more, not have as much defensive responsibility. Let him influence the game. Right, let's see. Who's a good sitter? Right, Declan Rice. Okay, he's doing well for West Ham. He's physical. He can break the lines with a pass. There's a player to get the ball to Bruno quickly. Do you know what I mean?
And
that's something that happened there.
This epitomises United as a brand and as a club. You shouldn't be looking at number 5, number 6 choice. You look at first and second. And, we've been talking about a defensive midfielder for years. Pogba, when he came in order to unlock him, we needed a defensive midfielder, and we haven't bought one in other than Matic, but a bit late
Yeah.
to
We
enable
wanted
that.
Fabinho that summer, and he
Yeah.
went for Matic then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was his first choice, and United vetoed it, didn't they? And then got him Matic because he was a bit cheaper or whatever.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Go on.
Yeah, look, the other thing is Look, I've already said what I wanted to say about recruitment, but it's also the speed of recruitment. We took a year to sign Harry Maguire. We took 2 windows to sign Bruno. We took a year to sign Sancho. By the time we faff around trying to get the players we do want and eventually overpay, that we're solving one issue, but then 2 issues pop up. So by the time we'll solve, our centre back issue, then 2 players in our midfield have left. We haven't got that mentality whereby we anticipate problems and solve the issue before they happen. We have to wait until we're in a crisis in one area and then react. The fact that we've got one of the most expensive squads in the world and one of the highest wage bills, yet we've probably got a relegation standard midfield, is absolutely abysmal. And I can't stand when people say, "Oh, the Glazers, they don't make the decisions." Everyone who makes the decisions are accountable to the Glazers. Matt Judge, who does
100%.
negotiations, is accountable to Woodward. Woodward's accountable to the Glazers. Failure after failure, the Glazers are just they've happily devolved all their power, but they're not. No one's being held accountable, and that's the problem. So we can hope that Rich. Sorry, I'll let you.
Sorry,
go on, Mark.
Sorry, mate. The Glazers are the fundamental problem here. Listen, last summer, a lot of us, other people, went to Old Trafford and we did that protest, and it was such a heartfelt, passionate day where everyone was angry, but there was so much togetherness, and that's what we need more often. And what's happened since then is they've knee-jerked, got some players in over the summer, and now everything's gone quiet because, hold on a minute, we've had a fantastic summer. You get in Varane, you get in Sancho, fucking hell, Ronaldo, but that it shouldn't go quiet, and we have to speak up and continue that, because it might not get them out, but as you saw, there's a reaction, and you have to keep getting that reaction. Nothing is going to change. We are the masters of our own downfall, unfortunately, and we enable that, and it's got to change. I am so distraught with United at the moment, and it's so painful to see us in this situation. It's got to change, but it's the Glazers that are the problem. I read something the other day, and I agree, you've got to take these things with a pinch of salt. But going on track record, Ralf Rangnick is now getting frustrated. He's set up a deal for Haidara from RB Leipzig, has done everything for them. It's just about United stumping up the money. Now, if that doesn't tell you exactly where the fucking problem lies, I can't help you.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing with these, because you look at that protest, Mark, it's a brilliant point that you brought up there with regards to the protest last summer when we got the biggest game in world football called off. Biggest in club football called off in that Liverpool game. The Glazers absolutely shit the bed. They thought more was coming, and then they tried to prospectively win the hearts of all United fans by signing Sancho, signing Varane, Ronaldo, whatever it is. Like, we've so many fantastic fan groups within this fan base, that has made waves, and that we have relentless support. I have no doubts that if they all came together again, that these protests could ramp up again, that the Glazers need to be put under pressure. It's something that I think should happen more often, Mark. I think you're absolutely right in that regard. But then, like, when you go to that point there of Ralf Rangnick, you've brought him into this consultancy role. You promised him heaven and earth. You're going to have this influence, that influence. But then he brokers that deal. The transfer fee is set. He has a release clause. I think it's £33 million. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. That's an easy deal to do. There's no negotiations. The wages are all probably sorted as well.
And can you blame Ralph for not having what he wants in the team? He's come in halfway through a season, arguably the most difficult time. We're on the back of a really shit run of performances anyway before he came in. He's now not able to get the players that he needs. He justifies as the right players to come in and do something with it. He's got an impossible job. You can blame the players for poor performances. I absolutely agree. You can blame Ralph for potentially making one or two mistakes from a management perspective, but this all stems from higher up.
I was going to say, just to add on your guys' points about the recruitment, I'm just thinking back to when Ferguson left and when we had Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho. I'm just like, the players we got in, some of them weren't the right players. We weren't targeting the right players. I'm like, you just take, for example, like Di Maria and Falcao as well.
You know that year, Mark, we wanted Vidal, didn't we, for central midfield? If we got Vidal in that season,
and I was thinking under Moyes,
he's still going strong now, isn't he?
Tony Cruz.
Cruz. Yeah, we wanted Cruz. We wanted Vidal.
Didn't we under Moyes want Fabregas, Bale, and
Fabregas? He thought he'd done a deal.
The earth, and
ended up with Fellaini. Got Fellaini instead,
and Juan Mata as well. Well, Juan Mata. I'd say Juan Mata's been the exception, and like under Herrera as well. But we've targeted the wrong players. I mean, okay, the recruitment's slightly got better under Ali. Okay, Harry Maguire should have came probably a year before Mourinho should have got him, but
that was down to the board again. Why not give Mourinho Maguire and then go next transfer window and spend even more money than what he was going to buy him from Mourinho to buy him for your new manager? That's what everyone's saying. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
And like I say, we're solving these problem positions. Like we needed a right winger, we went and got Sancho, but this season he's been on the left, the right, and obviously we needed a forward. Okay, Ronaldo's come in, so he's here for this season. Well, I hope he's here next season as well, but depending on where he finishes, he might go, that's it, I want out of here. But then we've got to look beyond that in terms of the future. I know Stu's like, with Mason Greenwood, is he going to be the natural number 9? I don't know. Like sometimes with Mason Greenwood, he's getting into positions and he pulls the trigger and tries to shoot. Sometimes the better options are pass or across. Sometimes, like Benny said, he's got to work on his game a bit more. So, but whether
you were there yesterday, weren't you, Andrew? You were at the game yesterday, weren't you? Did you not see Cavani's cross? Fucking Greenwood was on his heels on the far side of the fucking 18-yard box. He should have been on the back stick.
Whereas if it
fucking tapping.
Whereas if the other way around, Greenwood, Cavani would be like, I'm waiting for this. Come on, I want it right now. I'm like,
it's one of those.
Recruitment-wise, I say it's better in the last few years, but we've just taken, like, we've got Maguire, Sancho, Varane, even the Varane deal was like, is he coming? Is he going to be announced? And like, it seemed to be just dragging out and out and out on that one. So
we were never going to see the best of Varane. We were never going to see the best of Varane this year anyway. It's always going to be a next year's project for Varane. We were never going to see
there's definitely an adjustment period there for Varane, isn't there? I think like you're looking at a new league, like and you look at like Varane's situation, he's had multiple centre half partners, he hasn't had time to settle. Whereas if you look at Thiago Silva, the other side going to Chelsea, like he was in a Tuchel system, set back 3. There's Rudiger, Christensen beside you. There you go. Like there's your settled system, settled partners. You're all on the same wavelength. So like absolutely, I think Varane, he's had a bit of a tough time. Obviously, he's had a couple of injuries as well, long injuries, muscle injuries as well, which obviously, look, as a defender, like that can hinder you. It can hinder your pace. It can, like, obviously, if you're in that bit of pain, it can hinder your decision making. Like it has a lot of things, and that's not me making really any excuses. But like, look, there is factors in football that can hinder a defender, and like. Look, we've seen when Gary Neville's body was not delivering anymore. He knew when to pack it in. Like so. If you look at the defenders, when their bodies aren't working, obviously decision making is going to be affected. They mightn't be able to stretch, for that final ball like they could have a couple of years ago. So it's just one of these things where and it is an adjustment period. Let's hope, please God, fingers crossed, that he can, he can stay injury free, that he can get a run of games. Be there with a settled centre half partner. In my opinion, it should be Lindelof at the moment, not Maguire. We'll leave that story, for another day. But like in my opinion, that's if he has a settled partner, we can maybe see the best of him, and 2 defenders can complement each other in that regard. But this podcast has been absolutely banging, fantastic points made by absolutely everybody here in the show, guys. If you're still watching here today, do smash the like video, hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 5K. We're nearly there, guys. it would be a massive, massive help if you do smash the like and hit that subscribe button, because look, we've a lot of exciting content. We've interviews, ex-players, journalists, the whole lot. We have a lot of great things coming up on this channel, though, very soon. So look, if you want to see good balanced content and real fans talking with real opinion, this is where you need to be in that regard. But final question I'm going to ask to every single person on this panel, with a quick answer with regards to it. Anthony Martial, does he stay or does he go this month? Mark, I'll come to you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other answer. I think he's 100% going to leave. I think obviously United are probably just looking for the right deal. They don't want a loan option with obligation. They probably want to remove him entirely. When you interviewed Darmesh the other week, he said exactly that too. He feels that it would be in United's interests to either get rid of him permanently now or wait until the summer, but I think he's gone personally.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the boat. I think it's not like Tevez where City were fighting for the league and they if Aguero got injured, you're kind of screwed. Like, do you know, like I think with us, look, we've Mason coming up, we've Alanga, we've Rashford, we've players like that, we've Cavani, Ronaldo. We can probably afford to leave him go at this point. And I think, look, you don't want a fractured dressing room. So for me, I would be in the boat that he needs to go, and I think it needs to be permanent too. And we just need to kind of, you know, set a precedent that if you are going to refuse to play for the football club, you're out the door. And that's not just for this current manager. This is going forward. In that regard, Benny, are you in the same boat? Do you think he goes this month, or do you think Manchester United again, we fumble this one as well and we keep an unsettled there?
It depends if we get the right deal for him and everything like that. Like Mark said, there's no point trying to get him off on a loan to buy deal, because if that falls through in the summer, then you Anthony Martial's back on your doorstep. So I think it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna happen this one. I can't say, because the days of the transfer window are starting to rapidly run out. You know, to try and find him a club again, that's a lack of playing time as well. Like I said before, he's not putting himself in the shop window. So not very many football clubs at this moment in time, I don't think, are fighting for his signature. There's not a mass queue at the door, is there? So I definitely think he's gone, but I think it's going to be more like the summer. I think you'll probably find that he's gone and find a permanent move somewhere else. But if that is the case, I would like to hope that Anthony Martial maybe has a little change in attitude and then just gets his head down, knuckles down, works hard for the team to the end of the season, and then, you know, by all means, if you want to leave, then leave, pal. You know, but just if he is to the summer, I just hope he just has a little bit of professionalism to his game and just thinks like, listen, I'm going to be here to the summer. There's no doubt about that. You know, nothing's going to happen this transfer window in January. So I'll knuckle down. I'll try my best to the side. I'll try and get back into the team. I try and play my way into a possible shop window for where I've got 2 or 3 clubs that line up to sign me that United are going to accept bids for. You know, and there's not a loan to move thing, which could possibly I could move now and then summertime I'm back at United again and then I'm all back to square one. So he'll definitely leave, but I think it'll probably be more like the summer for me.
So Mark reckons this month, Benny reckons it'll be a low move, maybe with perspective of the summer move. Fred, are you in the same boat as the lads? Where are you sitting on this?
I think he will. I think he has to go this month. In what capacity? Probably a loan move and then a permanent move in the summer. I think that it's a real shame how it's all planned out. But whoever's in the right, whether it's the club or Martial, it's sort of got to an untenable situation. So he has to go ASAP, really. So look, if we can broker a deal with Seville. Unfortunately, his wages are so high, so we're probably going to end up subsidising most of that deal. However, if he really wants to go permanently, then if he's willing to take a wage cut, even better this month. But he has to go, and I think that this has to be the beginning of his departure is going to act as a catalyst for the players who don't want to be here to depart. So your Hendersons, potentially your Lingards. You know, like I mentioned earlier, Mata, Eric Bailly, potentially Pogba is going to be the big one. and we need to resolve this before the new manager comes in the summer, because he's already going to have a heap full of issues on his hands. So hopefully Ralph can help with that transition and smooth things out from as of now. And if that means Martial going this window, which I think he will, that's the start. That has to happen.
Yeah, 100%. I think we need to set a precedent. I think a statement needs to be made. And I think now is if there's ever a time to do it and show we mean business, I think now is the time. 100%. Andrew, prediction from you? Do you think he's gone this month?
I think it's going to be unlikely he'll leave this month. I think it's more likely to be in the summer, but I just think which club this month is going to be willing to stump up all the money to buy him, or even like United reporting they want a loan fee and all his wages paid. I don't think any club out there wants to do that at the moment. But I think Martial, he could still have a role in this side. I mean, if there's injuries to Ronaldo and Cavani, then we're going to need somebody to go through the middle. So, and plus there's the Champions League games, the FA Cup games, and plus league games, so he could still have a role to play this season. And then if he still wants to go by the end of the season, then he can move on and we'll find a potential club that he can move to.
I don't understand, just very quickly, I don't understand at what point you ever had a fee on a loan. I know it's happened several times over the last few years.
We paid a couple of million for Falcao, didn't we, that time? We paid like...
Yeah, well, it was kind of around that point when it started happening, but I just feel that this is exactly the type of decisions United make which shoot themselves in the foot. Just offload him for free, allow a team to play the full wages, and then go from there in the summer. That seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, again, it's just another... incompetent decisions made by an incompetent board, which, look, they're just a bunch of clueless, whats. Do you know what I mean? That's the best thing I can say. But still, I'm going to kind of flip it with you here. Do Manchester United, can they manage to squeeze a move out of someone? Do maybe Manchester United go to maybe a Newcastle United, something like that? I know they've bought Chris Wood and they're still kind of in the market for players. Do United maybe get a load of footage, post-lockdown Martial, NHS Martial, as people knew him as when he was banging in all the goals? Do they send them footage around to all them clubs, like a player when they're looking for a club, and say, this is the player you're getting. Let's try squeeze the life out of him and get as much money as we can.
Excuse me. I think Rangnick's expedited the process anyway with his comments. I think that was the whole idea of it. I'm going to let everyone know that's what I want. Secondly, if Martial's got any aspirations of going to Qatar, he's got to move in January. Yeah, I can't see him starting at a new club in August, playing well enough for the French national team to pick him at the end of November. He's got to go this month if he's got any aspirations of wanting to go to the World Cup. And I think you're right, Keane. I think he'll end up at Newcastle. I think it'll be a last-minute deal, and I think he'll end up at Newcastle. And to be honest, it'll be perfect for him. It'll be absolutely perfect for him. And in fact, I'll play him as a 10, actually, at Newcastle. I think it'd be ideal.
Wayne Fraser, Chris Wood, Alan St. Max and Martial, do they stay up? Nah, they're still getting relegated. That's what
I would do. I would do that. But Martial was left with no option, don't forget. He had to come out and say something. He's left with no option. But his agent is going to be working on deals. He'll be speaking to 10 or 11 clubs, his agent, just to get a feel of who wants him. If Martial's got any sense, money won't be an issue for him. 250 grand a week he's been on for 12 months, whatever. Money's not going to be an issue for him. Go and play football. But he's not going at this point in time. He'll be sitting in his front room going, I ain't going anywhere near Qatar in November. Nowhere near. And I want to be. And Donny van der Beek's got the same issue. If he's got any aspirations, he's got to fight his way into the team or he's got to move. And it's this month. I can't believe players aren't moving at the minute. If you're on the bench, I can't for the life of me understand why you're taking it, why you're not trying to find yourself a club to play regular football till the summer. Can't get my head around it.
It says a lot about some of these players' ambitions that there's a big World Cup, the first Winter World Cup, massive occasion, massive stage in Qatar, first time ever, and they're not looking they're not looking for a move. You know, it's quite shambolic, really. And look, again, that says more about this day and age in terms of mentalities and where they are. And look, hopefully, look, we can sort this out. If I weed out kind of these bad attitudes, weed out these players who don't want to be there, and look, we can get to players who will be committed to the cause. I think that's the most important thing. And the final comment I'm going to come to for tonight, because I'm named after him. Wish we had a captain like Keano. Absolutely. If we could get Roy Keane to that dressing room right now and ruffle a few feathers, I'd absolutely love that. But I'm going to wrap up tonight's show there, guys. Thanks very much to the guys for coming on. Absolute banger of a show. Really enjoyed it tonight. An hour and 25 minutes. Didn't feel like that at all. Joe, great opinions and great comments as well, guys. Like the contributions tonight have been absolutely fantastic. So do keep them coming. Do let us know in the comments, guys, what you think about the Anthony Martial situation. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think he was right, Joe, to refuse to play? Do you maybe think Ralph Rangnick was wrong to come out in the public and say that? Do let us know. And as always, guys, smash a like in the video, hit that subscribe button, help us get to 5k subscribers. And as always, guys, Joe, thank you very much for showing support to All for United. Until next week, this is Devil's Advocate. Goodbye, everyone.